we got riots. Come over here. We love you. We don't want to be sitting here going, we're different. Come over here. People, we need people over to the right-hand side. Good evening, London! So who here in the audience knows a veteran? Who here in the audience has a family member who is a veteran? Well, I served in the British Army for 30 years. And my job was behavioural conditioning. I turned civilians into soldiers. And we did it very, very quickly. I'm not a scientist and I'm not a doctor, and I don't pretend to be that on any level. But I'm just like you guys. What I can do is I can look at studies. I can look at counter-evidence of studies. I can triangulate my information. And I can come up to my own conclusions. Because I'm also a father and I'm a grandfather of 7 beautiful grandchildren. Who here in the audience has been a child? Well, it is those people that we are protecting right now, because I can tell you something. The veterans have been treated badly and they know it. And what I would like to do is give you a little bit of an insight into my world, so that, one, you can understand the veterans and create a connection, because when veterans come home, they come home to civilian communities. They try to settle in those civilian communities, and a lot of them feel misunderstood. And you know, the irony of the journey of a veteran is the first thing they lose in combat is trust, because quite often they realise they've been lied to. I made the fatal mistake when I resigned my commission in 2004. And I resigned it because what I realised was we had a great behavioural training model in the military, and we had a great thinking model, but we didn't have a great emotional model. We had no way of supporting our guys that were struggling. And I'm a veteran of many years. I feel sorry for some of our young veterans, because even some of these young boys are having so many operational immersions that they come home and they don't have enough life experience to balance that experience out with. And I can tell you something, what you think combat is going to be and what it really is are two different things. Because it's the soldier that makes the decision in combat, but it's the human being that has to deal with that decision. And you know, people come back from combat and what they do is they think that their homes have changed. But in reality, it's not their homes that have been in operations. They have. So I set up a treatment program for veterans in 2006, and the first program that I ran at the Royal Marine Commando Training Centre in Lympstone. We've got a brother who's a Marine here. Up the Marines! And because I'm in the Army, I'm a Pongo, I say right up the Marines. Do you know what I mean? So since that first program that we did, which was very successful because we thought out the box, we thought outside of the box. Are we on? Okay, we've got comms again. We did something different. Einstein said the first theory of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting something different to happen. So why do what we've already got? I sat in a conference at Portcullis House down that road, right at the end of it, with all the brains of the UK that were working with veterans, and they openly admitted that what they were doing with veterans was not working. And a good friend of mine, Simon Weston, and I think he's probably a very well-known person in the UK, a man who's raised more individually for charities than any other man I know since the Falklands War. And he came back scarred for life. When they admitted this, I asked them, so how do we connect with you? Because since that date, I've sat with over 4,000 veterans individually, and I can tell you something, they had no way of us connecting with them. Because the NICE approved model is a bit like a self-licking lollipop. It simply supports itself. It doesn't recognise anything that might be holistic or natural. And I think That is changing. People are now not shy about talking about mental health. We have lots of people coming out to do that. So how have our veterans been let down? Well, we can look at Northern Ireland as one example of that. The numbers, we still have something like 150 to 200 being taken to task because they served during the Troubles. And the Good Friday Agreement, from a veteran's perspective, was betrayal. If we consider the Iraq investigations, over 3,500 claims made against soldiers out in Iraq. And by the way, as a soldier of repute, I can tell you this, that when we go into combat, we first look to win hearts and minds. That is our main aim, because in reality we are all human beings. And sometimes those environments are not easy to work in. But the amount of money that was spent on that investigation alone, which was quashed eventually, because it became a bit embarrassing, was £82 million. Just imagine what that £82 million could have done to help veterans, instead of screwing them to the floor when they've given their all. You know, when veterans go into the combat, they don't fight for the country. They fight for the man or the woman on the left and the right to keep those people safe. And we've got some great leaders in the military. One of the things that I encountered when I left a lot of the programs that we ran, that we did research around, was that we found a high percentage of those veterans that tried to commit suicide. And do you know, to this day, we've tried to get the government to acknowledge those numbers and they won't. Why? Some of the people we work with were not allowed to enter some of the mainstream programs that combat stress and help for heroes because they were drinking and they were taking drugs. When you suffer nightmares, flashbacks and have experienced trauma, those are the only things that allow you to go to sleep. I have no doubt that when COVID came along, I went with the flow initially. But I thought about the impact that it was having on the veteran community and some of the families that they live with. If you touch one person in a family, you create ripples, right? And now they can either be nice ripples or they can be something else. 14 years on from the first program we ran, and I'm still sitting with veterans now. I attended at a regimental conference not so long ago, and I spoke about resilience, to find that there's a whole troop of young guys that are all suicidal and they don't really know what to do with them. Well, they don't know what to do with them because they keep doing the same thing and expect something different to happen, and it doesn't work that way. So I asked myself, when I started to see some of the things that the government were doing, what is going on here? Because I'm a very uncomplicated thinker. I was an analyst when I was in the military. And for me, it's really quite simple. If something looks like fish and smells like fish, it's probably fish. What I concluded was, they sent our soldiers out to combat and they put them in the battlefield, but they did not take the battlefield out of the soldier, nor did they provide that emotional transition for these guys when they wanted to go home and settle with their families. The real battle started when they got home, as I said before. So what I noticed was that the government quickly created a narrative. That's exactly what we did with soldiers. Mainstream media support that narrative. We all know that, but there are people out there that don't believe that. They censor anything that goes against the narrative. We're seeing that on Facebook. We're seeing it on Google. We're seeing scientists and doctors sacked and censored. We've never had this level of censorship before. I now started to get a little bit suspicious. They remove your identity. How do they do that? How do you smile at your friends and your family? How do they know that you're happy with them? Through the beautiful faces that we all have. Mine's been questioned from time to time, but there you go. You take the rough with the smooth, don't you? So they told you to wear a mask. What does that do? It kills communication. You create conformity though. And you know, in a world where trust is nice, When you're a dictator, conformity is much better. If you want to know what that looks like, I've worked in high security prisons with people that are very, very troubled and struggling. And of course, when you don't have trust for people, you exact control. I cannot believe what I've seen today from our police. And it bugs me a little bit because I'm a personal safety and public order trainer, home office trained. And the police I met in those spaces were not the type of police that I met today. But guess what? We've got to make them understand that there are brothers and sisters. Because when it comes to their turn to bow to that vaccine, and I don't know anything about the vaccine because I'm not a scientist. I know I won't be taking it, I know that much. They use reward and punishment tactics. Think about some of the things they say to you. They blame you. They will tell you that you're an anti-vaxxer, that you're a conspiracy theorist, that you're non-scientific. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm okay. I really hope that I am a conspiracy theorist. And I really hope that I'm as delusional as some people have told me I am. Because if that's the case, we're soon going to get back to normal, aren't we? But when you lot, and we were posting on Facebook that they were going to lock us down again in September, nobody quite believed that, did they then? So we've got to remind people what we said 3 months ago, because guess what? People forget that. People forget that the government was saying, don't wear masks, now wear masks. And you see, it's really interesting because when someone labels you with something, it's almost like the onus of proof is on you to disprove that theory. You know, last night, I went for dinner last night. And if I'm a conspiracy theorist, I'm keeping some excellent company because I was in the presence of a European standard scientist. I'm listening to 500 German scientists that have had to group together because if they don't, they become targets. I kept company with a barrister, a lawyer, a journalist, and I thought, wow, I've gone up in the world. One of the ways that they drum home their message is they keep repeating short sentences like stay home, stay safe, stay home, stay connected, space, face, hands. And if they keep saying that often enough, guess what we do? We conform, because it's really, it takes a lot of courage to stand up and be counted, especially when people do not believe what's going on. So all of you people here today should give yourself a huge pat on the back. Now I know what I used to do when I was in control of a group of people. I used to put an idea out, and if no one disagreed with it, I did it. What do you think the government are doing? If you don't stay home, what we will do is you're going to lose Christmas. What do you think that is? But if nobody resists that, what do you think is going to happen? Now, of course, if you take all of the things that I've mentioned individually, they don't make any sense. And that's why people don't see that sometimes. Because what you need sometimes is a little bit of context. And so, the thing that sounds like my voice, that. The thing that gave me context was when I listened to Boris's speech at the 2019 United Nations Conference. Because he told you where the future is going in plain sight. And I quote, "The digital age is not in our control. You may keep secrets from friends, children, parents, your doctors, your personal trainer, but it takes real effort to conceal your thoughts from Google with nowhere to hide." Well, I always thought that when I've been out, that when I come home, that is my safe space. And I know that every great relationship in the world is first built on safety, because when you're safe, you can be honest. And when you're honest, you can get creative. And when you get creative, all you then need is to live your life. So why would they want to listen to what I've got to say about the neighbour next door? Even if he has got curly hair and I don't like him. Smart cities will pullulate. These are Boris's actual words. Smart cities will populate with sensors from every lamppost, but this technology can also be used to keep every citizen under 24-hour surveillance. Why? A future Alexa will pretend to take orders but will be watching you. In future, voice monitoring technology will be in every room with smart meters transcribing your every habit. Why? He calls this digital authoritarianism, and that's much easier to write than it is to say. But if they've got a name for it, surely it must exist. That's my logic. So where does it exist? Take a look at China. China, 2 years ago, issued 33 million passports because the people that got them deserved them through the behaviours they produced for an authoritarian government. Is that what we want for our children? Because I know I've never been tracked, traced, I've never been followed, and to be honest with you, they'd have got bored after a while anyway. But I can't work out what that equals. But if you look at China and think that this is not going to happen, then you need to listen to his next statement, because this is telling you the future. I knew a long time ago this was never about the mask. It was about the vaccine. And the people I listen to do not have a conflict of interest in it. I'm interested in their perspective. It is not the stuff of dystopian fantasy. These are his words. It is an emerging reality. It is capable of both good and bad. And I'll tell you what, with all the experiences I've had in the military, I'm not feeling the chuff in love. And I would say that at best, this is a warning. And at worst, it's our future. Now, why am I here? I'll tell you why. Because we have just over 4 million veterans in this country. And I know something about veterans. When veterans are believed in, and they're followed, and they're invested in, they will fight man for man. They will fight. They will have no problems doing that. Do I want that to happen? No, because we are peaceful protesters. But what we can do is we can get enough veterans out on these streets to create a presence that you can't argue with. And we don't need 4 million, we only need 2 million. And I reckon that a lot of veterans, because of their history, know this has been going on for a long time. They're just waiting for the opportunity. And I think that opportunity will come and should come when someone says to you that you do not have the choice to receive a vaccine. We can put up with the odd mask, but when it comes to invading your body, that's a different situation. It's your body and it's your right. And for the children that don't have the common sense or the experience to say no because they are scared, it's our job as mums and dads and grandpas and grandmas to lead them. The only power we have is to say no. Because in my world, no equals living, no equals loving, no equals connection, and no equals normal. You've been told about the changes to law that have happened from Robin when he stood up earlier. And of course they would have to put me on after Chico, wouldn't they? The liveliest man in the world. So I'm only interested in the people that talk when they have no conflict of interests. And I know that the veterans have learned not to trust. But I think they should be on the front line when it comes to this, and we should warn them that they are going to have to put their beret on again. I never thought that I would have to wear this beret ever again. Do you know the most dangerous people in the world? The most dangerous people in the world are the ones who follow orders and never question them. But what the government have got to remember, and the people that dish out those orders, is that's why we have vicarious liability. And they also have a responsibility to humanity to make sure that they're serving humanity. I worked at the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst. I saw a lot of people go through leadership programs, and I can tell you now, when I hear this government speak, I wouldn't follow one of them. I might follow them out of curiosity, and that's about it. Because, you know, something comedic is going to happen. I'm going to finish there, guys, because we have got more people to speak, and sometimes, as my mum once said to me, you can talk a glass eye to sleep sometimes. But I'm going to leave you with this thought. Veterans, it might be time to put your training shoes on. Because you're going to have to be fit to fight this one. And by the way, we want the police on our side as well, because we love the police. I can't imagine a world without them. We're all part of the same community, we're all in the same storm, but we're just in different boats and ships. So if you know a veteran, and they haven't seen our videos, and they haven't seen today, let them know. And from here on, this is where we are going. We're gonna get the veterans involved and get them moving, get them on the march. I wish you all very well, and I wish you safe journeys home tonight. And remember, and this includes the police, the reason that journey is safe is in part because of our veterans.